Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Shonda Rhimes understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Society Now. I'm your host, Kira Laws, and this is my wonderful co-host.
Hello, everybody. My name is Allison Bullock.
And you can follow me at The Modern Day Cindy on Instagram. You can follow this nut over here
at Miranda Inc. on Instagram. I hope everybody's doing really, really good. We want to welcome all of our Facebook Live. So you guys just come on in. We got a lot to talk about.
Come on in, have a seat.
Come on in, have a seat.
Come on in, have a seat.
Y'all, it's a pretty intense week.
We have a lot to do.
It's a lot this week. So we're going to dive right on in because you got a lot to cover in a little time. So
diving, please know how to swim.
There it is.
Don't sink.
There you go. So for those of you that are on Facebook Live, please do not forget to share, like our video, and of course, definitely subscribe. But we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Okay. So Tiffany's, the little blue box.
We had a conversation about Tiffany's a while back, but it was about it. No, but it was not about what we're talking about today. So Tiffany's has encountered a few issues, right? And they found out like 4 years ago or so that Costco were selling Tiffany-like things at the store, saying it was Tiffany's. And when they got wind of it, they sued them, and it took about 4 years, right? And now they got a settlement that's over $19 million, almost $20 million. Now, what's interesting to me is that the people that actually bought this from Costco should have known.
So, which is why it really has become newsworthy, because they're saying that they were labeled Tiffany engagement rings, and Costco was like, no, not like, saying that they were Tiffany's, but they were like Tiffany-like, kind of like it's not Tiffany's. So I don't know.
Well, it's misleading, right? So if in fact I ever went to a store and they happened to start selling Gucci and it said Gucci on it, and I wasn't a learned purchaser, I might think that was actually Gucci, depending on what it looked like. So in diamond rings are much harder to distinguish, if it's that brand, right?
Yeah.
It's because it's a diamond ring. It's not like it has a certain type of certain print on it that lets it be distinguished Tiffany, right? Yeah. So I totally get it. I hate that people were purchasing it thinking that was actually the
almost
case.
Close. I think it's like 19.5, so nearly $20 million.
And the crazy thing about it, this is what makes it awesome. This is what makes this case awesome. If Costco never sold any of it, their name alone would have gotten them $20 million.
Yep.
Because
they
fact that they were
said it.
They said it. So even if they sold no rings, no jewelry, it still would have gotten them that money because it's the name. Infringement on the name. It's another legal thing.
It's another definitely legal thing for sure.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining in, guys. Hey.
Hey, MM. Hey, Jordan. Hi, Sabrina. How are you guys? I got really excited.
You did get really excited. Now, wait, let's talk about getting this money, though. Like Shonda Rhimes.
Man.
I was kind of hurt at the end of Scandal last season because I really was affected by the fact that they said that she was not coming back. You know, after this upcoming season is going to be the last one. And I was like, wait, how are you going to do us like that, Shonda? I mean, you know, we bought in.
Like, we really bought in. Like, we're like invested family. Like, people have changed their Thursdays.
I mean, I won't do anything on a Thursday night.
Scandal.
And if I do something on a Thursday night, I'm coming back the next day and I'm watching it on demand. Like, something is going to happen, but I'm going to watch Scandal, right? Well, Shonda Rhimes is amazing because she's been with ABC for 15 years since the beginning of Grey's Anatomy, and she got this amazing deal with Netflix to create content. Well, you know that's major because a lot of the platforms are going digital now, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that?
So you know how I feel about Netflix. You guys, I love Netflix.
Netflix.
I am a Netflix pro, and the reason why I like it. Not only because you can watch videos that you know and that you love, and TV series that you know that you love, but I love a lot of the original content that Netflix. There's like 4 or 5 different Netflix shows that I literally bought all the way in, and I can't wait for them to expand upon it. And so when you tell me someone like Shonda Rhimes is coming on Netflix stock is already pretty doggone good already. Yeah. It's about to go through the roof because she's brilliant. She brings stories to life in such a way that really it can't be described in words.
Absolutely. And I think
it really can't.
I mean, I think that was a power move for her. It was a power move for Netflix. It was just what I think last week or the week before we reported Netflix reportedly was having issues with content and things like that. So bringing someone on like her, if they either sought her out or maybe she heard about the story and was like, hey, I have something that you guys need. You know, her ability to create content is what she's known for. So I'm so excited because her content isn't it's not ethnic based. She's the first one that actually was able to do multicultural things. She actually 15 years, you know, she's actually been able to show on TV that you can diversify the cast and doesn't create any issues, and people started loving it.
She is a director of people. In Grey's Anatomy, she tells stories that everybody can relate to. In Scandal, she tells stories, tackles issues that everybody can relate to. Yeah. So I am going to say a clap for that. Because and for those that are new to the show, the clap is our way of saying, hey, good job, you know, awesome job, we really, really like. So it's that's on the up note. We're going to clap, and a clap goes down to, I don't want to say like a boo, but this is a kind of a downer, a part of the show. And you guys, please feel free to share, like, and comment on any of these stories. Jordan, Sabrina, Eminem, you know you are always warm and welcome to give back feedback. But we really... This whole thing about the Oregon mom.
Well, this is kind of
this is sad.
It's sad and it's sensitive to me. I know when I was pregnant with my daughter and also after my care, I know one of the things all the material was saying, you know, they were a lot of reasons why they warn moms to be careful about, you know, what medication they're on, not to be drinking, especially with newborns, is because you become very, you know, just like anything else, you don't have control of your you know, your body and all that stuff like that. So apparently this lady was in Oregon. She had her son. He was a 4-day-old baby. She had a C-section, and so she was heavily medicated. The nurses would come every few hours for the baby to breastfeed, which is normal. That's a norm. And usually the baby is, in a lot of the hospitals now, they have the baby bedside in a little holder. Well, a night nurse came and put the baby to nurse with the mom, which was fine until the mom fell asleep because she was heavily, you know, with narcotics. So, but she fell asleep and she rolled on the baby and the baby died. So now she's suing the hospital for $8.6 million. And I think she actually does have a case because they're the ones that know, that, when you have a heavily drugged person, you can't leave them by themselves like that. You need to come and check and make sure that baby's back in the, in the bed, in the baby bed. So
I hear you. And I think it's sad for, to lose a child, period. It's just, I'm not a mother yet, but I cannot even imagine. But I really am interested to see how this story kind of pans out. I believe that she does have a lawsuit, but at the same time, I wonder what the story is on the opposing side as far as the hospital and the nurse. It's like, well, hey, did she just step out for a moment? Like, what is the time frame for? It's like, if you have the baby and, if you check on the mom, she may have checked, baby was nursing fine, mommy was a little asleep, because sometimes, when breastfeeding, mommies do go to sleep. like, I wonder what's the time frame of that? Like, was she supposed to come back every 5 minutes, every 30 minutes, every 20 minutes? Like, you know.
Well, I think the bigger issue, and it's you know, the bigger issue is that, you know, when you are medicated in a hospital, they have a duty, right, to make sure the baby is okay. Yeah. So even if she was nursing, I know when I was in the hospital, they were in there with me. Like, you can't do anything. And I think I shared this with you. Like, the first 2 days, I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself because they were concerned that I could fall. So it is a health concern because they
were with you.
Yeah. Right. And I wasn't a person that actually, when my labor, I didn't have any drugs, but post care, they wanted to make sure I was physically okay to move. So when you actually add that on top of drugs, and this is the thing, just a caveat, the drugs don't affect the baby, but it's what the mom's body is able to do, because you're already in a state of, she had a C-section, which is surgery. So you think about, you put all of those together,
surgery, she's medicated, and she's breastfeeding, so she
really can't move much anyway because she had a cesarean section. So you put all that together, she needed to have someone watching her. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot with that. So,
jeez Louise, that's pretty deep. So that's right. The mother was not herself with all those meds.
Yeah. So it's like, so they had a duty of care, and they failed in their duty of care. Oof. Now, even if it was accidental, even if it was, you know, and if you really read the story, it was not just a 5-minute break, right? Yeah. So they didn't find that baby, you know. So, you know, so that's kind of sad, and it's terrifying, I'm sure, for the mom, because the babies can't move. Like, you know, my daughter can move. She can actually move. These babies can't move like that. So she didn't feel it, and when you're knocked out like that, you don't feel the baby's moving.
So we're just sending prayers to that mother, because you really can't say anything for the loss of a child, but you know, just hopefully justice will be served. But on a different note, kind of right on time, you know, I've heard of men divorcing their wives for many things,
for mistresses,
mistresses, girlfriends, boo things, but I've never, ever heard a man divorce his wife and marry his stalker.
Yeah, so this one is a little silly to me, and I'm like, and it's almost a slap in the face to the wife, right? Because she was with you when this woman was supposedly stalking you, when y'all were filing complaints and all this stuff, and you had a restraining order, all these things that come with the stalker title, because you don't become a stalker without having all this, right? And then all of a sudden you leave me to be with the stalker. What type of magic bag of tricks? Like, you know, and I'm being funny, guys, but seriously though, what, you know, I can't imagine being in that situation, because it's kind of it's a lot. I can't process that. Like, the person that's the stalker, like the one you said was the stalker. Like, you told me, baby, that this was your stalker, and now this is your wife. Now you divorced me for her. And you married her.
And just for namesakes for the show, we are not condoning women to become stalkers to get a husband. That's not what we're doing. We just think that it's quite funny that a man would divorce his wife and marry his supposed stalker.
Apparently she was a stalker, but this is how they paint the picture, and it's gonna be on apparently one of these basketball wives type shows.
So I think it's funny, and definitely it's newsworthy.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about some things that are actually newsworthy. You know, we love Houston Housewives of Finance. So of course we have to make sure that we tell you that this portion of the show is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33% or more than 77 million of Americans don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough in their savings. Do not become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling a complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email them at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new face of the new age of financial services. Shout outs to Houston Finance. We love them.
You don't
like
love
seriously,
them.
I do.
I don't.
It's like that love
I
times
feel
3.
Like when you say stuff like
that,
that,
love,
you
love,
are
love.
like adding so much extra.
No, like I need the people to know.
Yeah,
like everybody on there,
we
like
love them.
We love them because they're like solid, especially where the economy's going. You need that financial advisor.
Where's the economy going? Where's it
all
going?
the way up.
Where is it going? Somebody tell me, please. I need answers. Okay, listen, guys. You know, the time is growing nigh, right?
So,
but let me say this though. We have a really cool story coming up, right?
We do.
And it's
Give
about
that
a woman.
Quick plug.
This woman is born without a vagina and she's about to have surgery, you guys. So you guys need to subscribe.
So, you know, with that being said, you need to subscribe. Like who finds stories about women without vaginas?
It was in the news.
It's in the news.
A credible news source.
A credible news source. And
but we wouldn't think that a person can actually be born without a vagina. This is a beautiful woman. It was born without a vagina. I mean, I saw her picture.
Beautiful woman.
She was born without a vagina. She doesn't have. Well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it after. So, of course, we want to thank everybody on Facebook Live. We absolutely love you guys so much. Thanks for joining. Please make sure that you subscribe to our show, Society Now, on all the major platforms, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. You guys, it gets really, 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 really good. Review our show, share it on Facebook Live with the entire show with your friends and family. And do not forget to donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate, of course, at www.thesphere.tv/donate. We love you so much. See you next time. Take care, guys. So, woman without a vagina. It's pretty real.
Oh.
Like, okay, and I hate to sound so you guys, the way I talk is the way that I read. So Kira's like, yo, I put this article in the Run the Show. Did you read it? I said, what are you talking about? She's like, I put this article. Did you hear about the woman without the vagina? Like, I was like, wait, I don't.
And I don't make up these stories. This is actually from a credible news source, like I said before. And this woman, she's from Arizona.
Okay, she's beautiful.
She's a beautiful young woman. She suffers from Meyer-Roscoe-Kuster-Holzer syndrome, MRKH, which means she has no cervix, uterus, or vaginal opening. It's interesting because she's been with a guy for about 4 months, and he says he really doesn't care about the lack of sex in a relationship, but he's been trying to help her raise this $15,000 for her to have this surgery, and he helped to create a crowdfunding account. So he's been putting away $50 a month to help fund the surgery, right? But she really wants the surgery, and he's like, I really don't care about it. But it's interesting. The reason why I put it in is psychologically. It's interesting because he's not wanting to have sex with her. She feels like she wants to be able to have sex with her boyfriend. From a psychological perspective, I understand she's probably thinking about this now and in the future, like, how am I going to be able to explain to someone this is my situation? Like, how does that work? I mean, this is deep.
It's deep, but I think medically, I think it's like, wow, like I say it just kind of freely, but to be a woman and to not have a vaginal opening, you're just like, I don't know how. And I said, how would that look? You see what I'm saying? Like, I that's just interesting. Like, anatomically, scientifically, that's very interesting. Now, of course, I know psychologically because I can imagine. It's almost like, being a woman, it's one thing because I know for women, it's like, okay, what makes you, two things make you a woman other than hormones and all this kind of stuff. Outward appearance are breast and your vagina. So to be born without that, I think it's
interesting for a lot of reasons because it makes me. I started thinking about this. I was like, is this the earliest she could have fixed it? Is this something that could have been fixed
when she was like younger?
When she was younger, I mean, she's young now, but technically could have been fixed before she got to this age.
Yeah.
Because I know that you have a lot of babies have a lot of development to do, right? So. Yeah. Was there something that she could have done, like as a preteen? Could they have had a surgery for it? Like, was the option not available at that time because medical science advancements? But it's a lot because now she's making this decision as a young adult. But it's like, I'm making this decision because she technically, I don't know how that made her feel growing up. Like, how did that make you feel? Did you feel like different?
There's so many layers to this because how do you really? I'm sure that there's a lot of layers, but I'm thinking that it probably could have been done younger, but they did not have the medical technology that they do now. Now, I'm guessing probably the next 10 years, they'll probably be able to fix that by the time the baby's like 5 or 6 months.
Maybe.
So someone wouldn't have to go through this.
Maybe.
Well, kudos to the boyfriend for wanting to raise money and awareness and just saying that, hey, you know what? It's not about sex. It's been 4 months, but
we can talk about that on another show.
Awesome. Okay, great. So on a serious note, kind of scary, almost like this is like a movie that I've seen. Like this is
like a zombie movie.
Like this is stuff that I wish you probably could have even put this earlier on the show. Like, cause this stuff that people don't even believe really happens in the world.
Well, yeah. So these cops in New York, in the subway. So I'm a New Yorker, you guys, and I love riding a train. I don't care what nobody says.
She does love riding.
I love riding a train because I don't feel like I need to drive in New York. It's not necessary. We drive all the time here where we live. So the luxury. It's a luxury for me of a driver because Houston is a big city. Well, apparently the cops are being accused of hiding and storing dead bodies in an employee break room in the subway station when they find them.
Like what? I'm sorry. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world, but who does that?
I'm trying to figure out, is it that they can't wait can you not call the paramedics to come and pick up the body, or the coroners, right? So they're dead people. So can you not get the coroners to take the bodies and put them in their rightful places? These bodies belong to people, right? These belong to family members. Like, people have probably been looking for these people. They're probably missing. That's my thought. Like, these are dead bodies. So these bodies are people who are actually missing somehow. That was a thought to me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm thinking like there should be some type of accountability there. Like, you work for the city, state, county, whatever. When you find a dead person, whether it's the street or the subway, you need to make sure that body is put in the coroners.
And that's dangerous. And that's not even sanitary.
Well, that's the bigger problem because the bodies were leaking.
That's what I'm saying. Like, your body like what? Okay, so let's be clear. Live body versus the dead body. Dead body, live body, you're moving. Okay, dead body, your body breaks down. Like, internally, everything breaks down. So if you got bodies piled up in one room.
And the union officials are the one that called it out. They was like, the subway trains are often, the people killed by subway trains are often brought to employee lunchrooms and other break rooms areas inside the station. So instead of them just calling for someone I feel like, people jump in front of trains all the time, live in the subways. When you find these bodies, I feel like there needs to be some type of protocol that makes sure.
One. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. There's something, but clearly someone missed the ball.
Dropped it and threw it. Kicked it.
Just didn't care for it.
What do we think about Ben Carson, though?
Oh, man.
So Ben Carson was, you guys know, with this administration, Ben Carson was named the, the director of HUD. And he has now taken on a project which would say that HUD is going to be closing down or shutting down public housing in the projects of Cairo, Illinois, which is a part of Chicago.
Yeah.
Part of this shutdown of urban housing projects is that he's saying that once he shuts down the projects, he's going to actually help the residents find homes. Now, the question I asked our beautiful co-host here was like, once you displace the people and then move them into another place, would that not still be projects? Like, aren't they still projects, just not those projects? Like, because it's the same people, different residents.
Oh, Ben.
So are you solving the problem? Like, what's the...
So this is one of those things where I'm interested to see because... Ben Carson is another individual who's definitely stayed in the media for a variety of different reasons. And I'm interested to see, again, how this plays out. It's kind of like, okay, well, you're saying that they can't have that, but you're going to trust that you're going to give them another home. Those type of statements you would wish to say, I'm moving them out of here, I'm putting them here. And when you can't say that, it makes for a lot of questions that need to be answered. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I can, I don't know the man personally. I don't know Ben. I like your name, Ben, right? But to say that, especially the way the economy is right now with
so many things,
it's one of those things where, again, I need to see how it plays out.
And it's more interesting to me because I'm thinking about, and this is really not the best comparison, but I'm thinking about persons when we had displaced individuals from New Orleans that came to Houston, and those persons were dispersed across the city for wherever they could get housing, which was fine. A big issue though, when you move people from where they were living, they knew the environment, and you put them into a new environment, or can you guarantee the proper infrastructure to make sure they feel safe, they're comfortable, to make sure they have the tools that they need, to make sure it's, everything's included? Or are you going to put them in a situation where they feel like they're not comfortable and they may feel like they can't, I'm going to say, survive the way they used to, right? Are their survival techniques going to be challenged because of the area they live in now?
And I would hope that those individuals voice their concerns.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing is that, especially when something has news coverage, it gives some people some type of leverage.
Yeah.
Or at least some type of voice to say, hey, you know what? These are our demands. Or these are the things that we're hoping to see. We're excited about it. And, and taking it from there.
I hope that we hear some great stuff from that, because I personally think it's... Again, I don't think it's anything wrong with wanting to redevelop the urban community in Chicago and all urban communities, to be quite frankly, inner city urban communities. I just think that we, strategically, I hope he has good counsel on how to do it to make sure that those persons that are displaced actually have, like I said, the infrastructure and the support that they need to be successful wherever they move them.
I agree.
Okay. So let's talk about Elite Dental Wellness. We love them. This portion of the show is sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We are committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and a friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are a part of our family. Dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Baptiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Shonda Baptiste at Elite Dental Wellness at 713-789-8680. Again, the number is 713-789-8680. Awesome. Elite Dental Wellness. Amazing. Amazing. And I always have to smile when I say that. You
always do every time.
I feel like it's important.
It's like that perfect teeth. It's like Elite Dental Wellness, right?
Because it's the thing. Your oral hygiene is so important. I don't think people realize. So many things. It's linked to heart issues and stuff like that. So it's important for you to find a great dentist. So we recommend Elite Dental Wellness.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
It's an amazing team over there, guys.
Okay, so let's talk about being sued for $25 million in a deep pocket syndrome.
So you guys, Drake and Future had a concert. Nothing new there, right? This woman is suing Drake and Future for $25 million.
Why is she suing them now?
Because she allegedly she went to their concert and was offered tickets by a representative, we'll call it a representative, for the people
of the
arena where the show was. Not a spokesperson for Drake, not anybody affiliated with either one of the artists, but with the actual establishment. They offered her VIP passes or backstage passes. She went, she was raped, which we do not condone at all. She was raped by, we'll call it Jane Doe, because they're calling her Jane Doe, was raped by the guy, a guy at her show, and she is suing not the arena, but she's suing Drake and Future for $25 million because she got raped at their concert.
This is an interesting case, and I understand the theory of deep pockets. I understand that there's a lot involved in it, but the terrible thing about this case is that, number one, someone got raped, or her accusation is of rape. No one wants to hear about rape. No one wants to hear about violence committed at these concerts, whether it was a rape, a fight, anything like that. Yeah. I think the issue is that I don't necessarily know if the suit matches the crime. Man. Because these guys weren't affiliated with it. She's saying that she believes that the person who did it wasn't a person associated with the Bridgestone Arena where it actually happened. So I felt like you would actually try to sue the arena, the company, maybe even the promoters. I don't know, but but not necessarily these two guys, because you see, and I'm not saying this is what she sees, but it would seem that they would have the money to, I'm going to say, even foot the bill. But I think it's a little bit egregious, $25 million. But I've never been in that situation. But I just don't think it's a good idea, because this is it. I don't believe in rape culture. I don't think it's good for anybody. I don't promote rape culture, but I also think that we should all be a little bit more conscious of how we pursue the legal remedies when it comes to things like this, because it could possibly create an unfair balance when it comes to outcomes in cases like this.
I mean, you literally took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Because I was like, the rape, we don't condone, like, period. But when it comes to the legal aspect on who to blame, who to charge, I don't necessarily know if Drake and Future are responsible for rape. It would be different if you said if one of those, if the individual actually committed the crime.
Yeah.
But you're not even suing the person that did the crime.
Yeah.
Which is something that we don't know what the situation is, but from the articles that we read, it didn't seem like suing Drake and Future would be the route. You know, if anyone needed to be sued, it may have not been just the artists, where the concert, where just the concert, just because they did the concert. Because I'm sure their billboard was not like, this is what we condone.
Yeah.
This is just, you know. So, yeah, that's a pretty.
Yes, unfortunate. Again, it's very unfortunate. Again, we don't promote rape culture. You know, we're women. We're very sensitive to the matter, but we also look at things from a very much a different perspective.
Yeah.
And that we want to make sure that we're assessing blame and remedies for issues on the right people. So, you know, this is a very sensitive situation. I hope that it's rectified appropriately. Right.
Got it.
Yeah. This is another one that kind of threw me off a little bit. In 2017, we have not yet gone away from race issues and tensions in America. And I remember last year when I heard about this young man who was apparently rolled up into a gym mat and put into, I think, a dryer or washer dryer in the school or something like that. And they were alleging that some kids who were not black put him in there. Well, the parents sued, they lost in court, and now the court is saying that the parents have to pay $300,000. Now, again, the case was already a little bit suspect to me, because no one can roll himself up in a mat and put themselves in where he was found. But it does. I don't think it's possible. But it's so sad, and to hear that they're still being forced to pay the legal fees and the court cost. And I just, you know, I hope that somebody sees this, helps the parents out, someone, you know, because this is, you know, they were trying to get justice for their son. And I just don't think this is the right ending for this case.
And so I just want to, like, the picture's pretty graphic, but I really just kind of want to let everybody know kind of what happened. So according to the parents, there was evidence found of blunt force trauma to the right side of his neck and near his jaw. There was also hemorrhaging found in his jawline. The internal organs of this young man were missing, and his body was stuffed with old newspaper.
Even just given that description, it makes my heart sink, because I'm like, again, this person could not do that to themselves.
Like, this is not just a person that was thrown in there. This was a person that literally... He was treated like trash and rolled up in a mat, unfortunately. It's, you know, y'all, you know, Kira and I talk about stuff like all offline.
I am just, my heart is broke behind this. I'm like, that's a lot. And you're making his parents now say they have to pay $300,000. I just don't know if this is not the right resolution for this case. I understand that you might not be able to assess the blame of who did it, but I don't think you solve it this way. I don't think this is right.
And where's this, in Georgia?
Yes.
So our hearts go out to the family of Kendrick Johnson. Jesus, our hearts just go out.
Yeah, and it wasn't, again, it was January 11th, 2013 when his body was found. So it was again, it's been the past 5 years in America has been very testy. 5 or 6 years have been very testy. So this is in the middle of a lot of other controversy that was happening in the United States. So with our young black men. So we just give prayers to the family. We pray that somehow this is resolved and this judgment is waived or something.
Something to happen.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch gears.
So a lot has been talked about the Confederate monuments being moved, and we're going to talk about a couple of issues here, but there was a few historians that were really talking about or questioning President Trump's comments, talking about how it changes history, the removal of these Confederate flags.
Can I ask the producer, are we allowed to laugh hysterically? Is it gonna mess up the mics at all? Like,
I love it. He just said, so this is one thing. This is just a personal opinion. The removal of the monuments, I will say, does not change the history, past tense. But it can change our history as in present tense.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he meant it in that direction, because I think that because the article really went in depth talking and broke down all the monuments that they were talking about. Some that were, most were slave owners. And I think there was one that was, I forgot the person, but one of them was actually was for freeing slaves, but I think it was like one, but it was like a couple of other things that person did. And one little moment, they were like, but they tried to free slave, but majority of all of these, majority meaning like 99.9% of them, have been slave owners.
Well, what makes this, I love the subject matter. I love that, first of all, for the persons in Baltimore that were gutsy enough to take down these monuments, you guys, that was a power move, in that because it represented something that the community just didn't feel like they could stand for anymore.
Yeah.
So that was a gutsy move. Now, when we talk about rewriting history by taking down a monument to slavery, oppression, and things like that, I understand that people feel like that it is a part of history what happened, but I don't necessarily know if we need a monument about it. We did not see, and maybe this is a conversation, there have been several educational platforms that have tried, and they weren't successful, but a few tried to erase and or rewrite or modify slavery in history books, what it really was, kind of maybe watering down the effects of it or how it occurred. And, I think that when you look at it from that perspective, you have on one hand, you have people who don't want to acknowledge the oppression that actually occurred. Yeah. And on the other hand, you have persons who don't want to let go of what they feel is their pride of being in power. And that creates the imbalance, which makes it hard for a lot of people here, to feel comfortable or at ease.
It's a very sensitive issue.
Absolutely.
And for those that are saying it's not that deep, we say it over and over again. It is that deep, guys. So it has to be an issue that has to be, discussed. Keep going. So now there's also been another picture about the police. So, for those that have not, like if you've been under a rock or something and you really haven't seen, there's a lot of stuff that's going on about Charlottesville. But before we dig into that, I think we've got some other stuff that we need to handle.
Handle it, touch it, toss it. Okay, I was about to rap it.
Yeah, you sure were.
Missy Elliott.
I was like,
touch it. The song. You said we have to okay. The portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. Oh my God.
We love it.
You're so cray. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789. Again, the number is 832-772-7789. Or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. Again, that's advertise@thesphere.tv. Don't we love the Sphere?
We love the Sphere. So seriously, if you guys are looking for amazing platforms and some great content, the Sphere is good ground to sow into on any level. Seriously, it's some great stuff.
I feel like we're gonna. Okay.
So, because we're able to talk about stuff like this and given our perspective, the stuff that happened in Charlottesville, for those of you that don't know, the protest that happened that has literally been on every news stage.
So this was. So you called up. So this is interesting. Interjecting, but not really.
Got it.
So there was a big debate about why is it called a protest here and a riot in other places?
So it was a protest that it started off as a protest that ended in a riot.
No, I'm saying like some people say because of who was hosting it. It's a protest. Okay.
Of course. Okay. And so, and I think we talked about this before, and I'm not sure, was it Charlottesville where they sprayed the police with silly string, or was somewhere else?
No, that was in Seattle.
So
Seattle, then the following day had a like protest, and the police were on stance there, and they actually started spraying the police with silly string, and the police just stood there. At Charlottesville, they said the police kind of watched as this tension was building up, and they didn't do anything.
They took pictures like they were just literally standing
and
there.
It was interesting because a lot of people have issue with it. It was like, this could not have happened if the group looked different. If it was majority of another group, it might not have been as peaceful. So it's one of those things we have to just prepare or be aware of, because this is society, right? This is society we live in, and you have to be aware of some of the differences on how people view aggressive behavior, because I personally don't know if I'd have been okay if someone sprayed me with silly string, because I don't know what would have shot out at first. It could have been mace. It didn't have to be silly string.
And especially when you're, again,
it's a different thing. You have to look at it from a different perspective.
It's a different perspective. It really is.
And they handle it very calmly.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen in the news, as recent as last year, that same interaction may not have been handled that way. So, and the truth is, technically, the police handled it in a way that was appropriate because it's appropriate force, right? You have to use the force that's appropriate for the situation. So, yes, as long as it wasn't violent, yes. You know what I mean? But we want to see that applied across the board.
And I believe one day it will.
And I think that,
one day it will.
And we want to, and most times it is. It's just sometimes we just get a glimpse of the bad pictures and bad, I don't know. Sometimes we don't see the whole picture. Right?
So, President Trump says that he actually has seen the whole picture.
Okay.
He said that he has in an impromptu news conference in New York on Tuesday. He blamed the violence in Virginia on both sides.
Yeah, I don't.
And I tell you, so you guys, it's been on every major news platform. And it's I
don't necessarily know if it's a both sides issue. I know that there's a desire as a leader to not point fingers and assess blame on one particular group of people. But when you have groups of people that are pretty much known to be hate groups that are protesting because of their belief, that in a way, it unequivocally ignites. It's like striking a match, regardless of how people view what's considered a peaceful protest or not. You know what I mean? Like you have a hate group marching or protesting something because their belief is grounded in their superiority.
Yeah.
Above the rest of the world or above the rest of the, of your community or your country. I don't think it's a both sides thing. I think we have to be very careful about saying things like that because it could be viewed as insensitive. And apparently he got the memo on that because he did backtrack, right? He backtracked and finally said that, he did not approve of these groups, but it was like 2 days later, right? It wasn't immediate.
And so, but you got other people that are, that have been very vocal about President Trump's comments.
Yeah. I mean, I was really excited to see like even some of the late night talk show hosts, the comedians all come out, say, hey, you know, Jimmy Fallon, Seth, you know, all the guys, Colbert, they all had something to say about how they thought it was pretty much shameful how it was handled, and that, you know, that's just not the America that they want to see. That's not the America that they can, you know, talk to their kids about. It's not the America that they want to pass on. And it was important, I think, for them, because a lot of times these comedians aren't taken seriously, but they do have a following, a major following that's diverse groups. And so I think it was great that they felt like they can say something. They had the platform to say, they utilized their platform the right way. They didn't ignore it. They did not ignore it.
Which is what we're always talking about. Once you're given that platform, what do you do with it? And especially when social issues, because your publicist may say, okay, you can talk about everything, but don't talk about that.
Or just kind of like make a joke about it.
Say everything around it, but don't say that.
And they were very forward about it.
And I applaud them simply because I always say this, you guys, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel, and there is hope. There are people in this world that believe that, number one, some stuff just cannot be tolerated. And we're all human. You know, we all bleed red blood.
We do.
You know, unless there's some type of disorder that I'm not familiar with. And for those that bleed red, like a different color red, so maybe it's more, but I think for the common term, every color red. Yeah. So technically blood is blue, but with a bunch of
but when it's the air.
Okay, but y'all get it. So, red. But we all bleed red. So I said all of that to say that there are people out there that are saying that, hey, that don't look like a lot of the people that are being oppressed, that are for everybody, for the people. So,
and that's important for them to speak up.
It's for people. So speaking up, you got a lot of people that spoke up and got set down.
Well, yeah. So, okay. So CNN had a panel right after what happened this past weekend with Trump's statement. And the panel had 4 persons, 2 of which happen to be African-American men. One African-American man is considered to be Trump's surrogate. His name is Paris Denard, who is actually a White House spokesperson. The other guy, Boykin, I think his name is Patrick Boykin, if I'm correct. And Boykin pretty much was trying to make a point about let's not try to whitewash. I'm using the word whitewash, or look over the fact that he, you know, the president didn't really address the issues. Now, Paris, again, we said that he was a spokesperson for President Trump, and he was like, no, I believe he did. And Boykin's response was kind of like, hey, you know, pretty much, are you even black? Like, are you not affected by what's going on here? And Denard was like, how can you question my blackness? You know, I'm black and I know what it is to experience racism. And he also brought in the fact that he experiences racism all the time, especially because he supports Trump. And he was like, that's not racism, you know, and so they had this big back and forth. Now, later on, Paris Denard was also confronted by Cornel West. And Cornel West actually told him the same thing. Pretty much was like, I know your job is on the line and stuff like that, but let's call it what it is. And so it was interesting to see how he didn't approach Cornel West the same way he approached Boykin, but it was still like he was trying to stay reserved. He was like, you know, your job. He was like, we get it, bro. That's what he said. We get it. But this is some serious stuff happening right now. We can't afford to have this proper answer in the face of so much division in the country.
And so I think that with that being said, it goes back to a lot of things that we've talked about before. There's a difference with talking about, you know, people not liking me, let's just say because I like to wear floral print. You know, floral print's my thing.
Really?
I can change this, but I can't change my skin color.
No, you can't.
I can't. Like bleach and all, whatever.
I'm still
going to be.
You're still who you are.
Who I am. And I think that was a point in that whole back and forth. It's kind of like, I get that you're talking about you being, you know, having experienced a form, but that racism experience to what's going on, to like people are dying, comparing that to you saying that, well, you get the same thing because you're a Trump supporter, I think is to a certain degree, it has like a little validation, a little little.
I don't know, Allison. Because I think he was trying to pretty much say that he's pretty much said a lot of the hate and racism he faces is from the African American community
because he's a Trump supporter.
And I was like, I get that, but he also said his family has faced violence from the Ku Klux Klan in Georgia, and I'm not, I can't validate anything he says in terms of what he's saying. That's his experience. Yeah. And everyone has had an experience or has heard of an experience where someone they know of or know personally or themselves have had a racist experience, especially in our community. I think the bigger thing with this whole thing was that when you're talking about something that's sensitive of what happened this weekend, you had someone who was non-black die in the fight. It raised everyone's eyebrows, and no one can afford to turn a blind eye to death.
Yeah.
And so when you try to make it seem like, well, both parties were wrong, she didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't violent. She got hit by a car because somebody decided to mash the gas on purpose. So, it's a very sensitive situation, but it was interesting to see how sensitive he was about in his defense for, the president. He was very sensitive about feeling like, there was nothing wrong with what was said over the weekend. And I personally think that the best way to handle things like this when it happens is just say, hey, that person was wrong. Not necessarily the president, but how the situation happened in terms of the groups that were out there protesting. So that was interesting to see. Now, dun, 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 dun. Now, in the midst of everything that happened this week, in the midst of everything that's been happening in this country, as of recently, not 50 years ago, not 78 years ago, not a couple of 100 years ago, just recent times.
I feel like we need to put a sigh button.
Yeah, maybe a sigh. We need to implement a sigh button. We need to have a sigh. Okay, so ESPN had this fantasy football skit thing that they aired. I saw it. A couple of friends of mine saw it because it was on my timeline. And on the skit, they had a Caucasian male hosting an auction to a rows of other Caucasian men, but he was auctioning a black player, and he had the black player's face on the stick, which was actually Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
I don't know how Odell. I know he didn't really have
Kevin
anything
Durant
to say.
Even posted on Twitter. He reposted it.
Yeah, it's like when you look at that. It could have been very much innocent, but I think the writer in the news actually said it best. It's tone deaf. There's no way you can work in journalism and not pay attention to what's going on around you. You have to know that even if you weren't the person to create the skit, you'd be like, hey guys, let's not air that today. This is not a good time. Maybe we need to diversify the group of people that's in the audience bidding. Maybe we need to diversify the person who's actually doing the auction. Maybe we shouldn't have a person's face on the stick at all. Maybe we should talk about this generic player who does not really exist. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be something you have to do to be sensitive to what's actually happening in the community. And I think that although they issued an apology to Odell Beckham, or apology in general, but he had no words to offer in exchange for what happened. And I can't imagine how that must have made him feel, because there's always that back conversation about the value of athletes in the United States, especially the black athletes. So
I'm going to be really careful what I say.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm going to be really careful what I say. So I think, I know in corporations like ESPN, there's a lot of people that work there, like a lot, right? And I know somewhere in that a lot, there's at least one or two people that vet out the content that is placed on shows. And it's interesting that because they just didn't randomly just start, that had to be approved.
It was approved, and I'm sure even pre-recorded.
And
I'm thinking it was pre-recorded. It could have been live. It could have been live. I don't know.
I'm interested to see that not one person was like, yo, this is good.
But
maybe we shouldn't do this right now.
Maybe not a good time.
Maybe later. Because just yesterday, the day before, or the day before, this may not be the best thing. I guess that's where my mind is. My mind is like, nobody, out of those 30 people that were sitting in the seats, nobody said, "Oh, this is real good, but maybe we shouldn't do this."
But like, I don't know if people, like, again, I think sometimes the thing is people are so excited about being included that they forget that sometimes inclusion is exclusion, right? Your inclusion, it can be excluding a whole group of people. And that's part of the major issue, right? Because look at who was represented in that group. There was no one that even looked like an Odell Beckham in that group.
Yeah. So
you're included as part of a fantasy. And this, I mean, you can read into that if you want to, but this is a group of guys who are doing this fantasy football.
And you got about four ladies.
Well, a group of persons who are doing fantasy football, but none of them are of the same ethnicity as an Odell Beckham.
Wait, is that... Go back. I think I saw one. Is it the one young lady? Maybe. Yeah, I think.
Is there one?
I think we may have one.
Was there one?
Right. No.
No, sorry.
The tan. It was the lighting. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it was the lighting.
So I think the major issue is that the representation was off.
Yeah. No.
The representation. But I don't think it doesn't really. The short hair.
You guys, the fact that we had to reverse, pause.
This is the thing. Well, we can talk about that. We're not going to do that today.
We're not.
But that one person out of that whole group, do they have voice in that situation?
Yeah.
Do they have voice? And so, where's their power to make it, say, hey guys, I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Again, so like I said, it could have been pre-recorded. It could have been slated to air a certain time. Maybe somebody didn't go back and review it. But either way, there has to be this will help them plan for the future when it comes to having discussions about what's a good idea of program that we need to air, and do we consider the social landscape before we put things out there. What is the social climate? What's happening in society now, right?
Which is what we've talked about before, and for previous, corporations that have literally come back to apologize because they were not as sensitive or possibly didn't gauge in depth of the social climate. Whew. So we've had a pretty robust show today, guys, and we've covered a lot. But the great thing is, you guys, there's still hope. Y'all, with everything that is happening in society now, you guys, there's still hope.
You gotta love Allison.
There's still hope, and I'm not just saying that I honestly believe that, because with every story that we've seen, there has been one that's been full of hope, inspiration, and people that are really trying to make this country better.
Absolutely.
This world better.
I think that we're in a transition from generation to generation, and some of the old behaviors and ways are starting to, I won't say die off, but they're changing. And
definitely.
And now we're seeing almost like a changing of the guards. I think my friend would say that, a changing of the guards, where you're starting to see people in areas and industries that wouldn't normally speak up starting to speak up.
For sure.
And so with that, I think we're going to experience a resurgence of freedom the way it was initially intended to be.
Good.
And also interaction, where people are actually having the right conversations about race relations in America, where people aren't scared to have the talk and talk about how things really affect them. I think that's the bigger thing, because what we're facing is, fear on one side to have a conversation, and a fear on the other side, a conversation they feel like is not necessary because they don't have to face it.
I agree.
Yeah. So we hope that in society that that changes soon.
So you guys, with that being said, we always say we love you so much.
We do.
It's important for us to share these things, because you guys, this is what's happening in society now. Hope you have a fantastic night, an amazing rest of the week. Do not forget to subscribe, because if you haven't by now, what are you waiting on? Please make sure that you go to iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Follow us at The Sphere. And of course, we are Society Now. I am Allison Bullock, and you can follow me on Instagram at
Miranda Inc. And I am Kira Laws. You can follow me on Instagram at The Modern Day Cindy.
You guys have a great, great, great night. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.